Thank you, Dr. Anirban, Shri Kapil ji, Shri Vinay ji, and distinguished guests. विनय जी और कपिल जी ने इस परिचर्चा का आकार इतना कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बना दिया है और आपके सामने रख दिया है कि मेरी विडंबना है कि मैं किस चीज़ के ऊपर फोकस करूं। तो मैं सोच रहा हूं कि मैं आप सबकी तरफ से आई वांट टू स्पीक एज सिटीजन्स कि ये गुड गवर्नेंस हम सबके लिए क्या मतलब रखती है। इन माई व्यू, when there's governance, it has to be good governance. The adjective of good governance is quite an extra one, because governance means that there is an order, that things are happening and they fall into place. And may I also remind this audience that even Winston Churchill said that democracy is the worst form of government except for all other forms of government. So there are very few limited choices, but we've got to work the systems. The entire issue, as you have seen, encompasses a very, very vast landscape. Essentially, just to preface my perception from the citizen's point of view, there are three philosophies of governance. I'm placing the entire perspective in the contemporary context. You've heard the historical and you've heard the macro perspective. I'm just placing it in a smaller context, and that's the contemporary context. Well, there are three philosophies of governance, three or four. One, the state can do everything. It can create policy, it can police every aspect of human activity, and it can provide social welfare. We have seen that didn't happen. There has been another philosophy that state should only create policy and regulate. The market takes care of the rest. We've witnessed that it didn't work very satisfactorily. Next, the state can create policy, regulate and create public-private partnerships, including state and civil society. We have not yet seen the citizens' ambitions being satisfied. Take any or all of them, governance in some form or the other actually embraces all of these dimensions. And speaking from the dimension of the citizen, what does he want? What are you and I looking for? As a resident of a city, I want that please give me an environment where I can pursue my excellence. Individuals need that freedom. Individuals need that space. Citizenship needs the space, needs that facilitative environment. What does that imply? It implies at the very local level that the city government must manage the city. I need to be able to pay my taxes. I need to be able to interface with the requirements of law, which should be simple and compliable, without having to interface with the government or the government office all the time. If you can get the government office off my back, but at the same time regulate in a manner that the citizens comply with the requirements of citizenship and of law, my life can then be left to pursue my ambitions, to live with my children, to love my children, to give them the spaces that are needed in the city. This is what the citizen expects from the city government. I expect and I hope because this is what counts. Ultimately, cities that don't manage their waste are going to die in the next 10 years, even not longer than that. We need that kind of perspective that yes, waste, water, give me quality water. These are the requirements as a citizen. And I want that the government be invisible but be effective. Take myself as a citizen into the rural setting. What does the citizen in the rural setting want? He is in a position of not even knowing what his entitlements are. As a citizen in the city wants government out of his horizon, the resident in the rural setting wants government at his door. Government that has the capability to deliver services, to deliver the amenities, to deliver his entitlements, and to be able to deliver the knowledge, as well as create the opportunities for him to transform over a generation or two. This is what the citizen in the rural setting would anticipate and hope for. Now, the totality of the two perspectives gives the magnitude of the landscape of governance that we are faced with. These are the kind of challenges, or this is the set or the range of challenges that we are faced. How do we manage these challenges? First and foremost, let's ask the question, do we have the instruments to address these challenges? Do we have the instruments of governance, which is the whole establishment, comprises the civil service. It has been mentioned that there is huge amount of corruption in the system. There has been traditionally, the corruption has been present, goes back to Kautilya's recitations and things like that. But the fact is that until unless the integrity of public expenditure comes to a high level, there is no way we can have governance. There's no way we can have what is good governance. We can forget that. And therefore, the fact of the matter is that all the energies need to be concentrated on making the instruments of delivery function. And for that, what is needed is a determination that these instruments will deliver, and compromises by these instruments will not be tolerated. Because the system tolerates the compromises, adulteration happens. Adulteration in delivery happens, and corruption happens. The fact is, institutions are there, but compromises have been made historically for whatever reasons. Bad individuals, bad leadership, whatever be the case. But that needs to change, and we have to focus the energy to effect the change. If we think that cosmetic changes can transform the energies of the establishment into an effective governance mechanism, we can forget this. We need fundamental changes. The fundamental changes are needed because let's recognize the fact that the system is broke. And therefore, we can repair, tinker, but that is going to still give us a creaky machinery. Until unless we change the perspective from a fundamental point of view, in as much as incentivizing performance by the entire establishment, and at the same time increasing the pool of resources from where we draw the instruments of delivery, rather than from a settled system that we have fallen into, we are not going to be able to effect fundamental changes. That is extremely important. So, what are the two things that we need to look at from a fundamental change point of view? Number one is that we have to determine ourselves that we will not be beaten by volumes. We are all the time being beaten by volumes. You create a overbridge and there's a bottleneck before it's completed. You create a settlement, there is an overpopulation. You create any infrastructure, are we not thinking big or are we not doing big? I think the difference between us, we admire China so much because of the spectacular infrastructure it has been able to create, is the
Size of things.
pardon me?
Yeah, your point, yes. Is
No,
the
it is,
dimension at which the
yes, it is the magnitude of their thinking.
yes, yes.
And once they have thought that range, it's a question of doing it. We need to enlarge the magnitude of our thinking to a point where we are looking to build, not for next 10 years, not for next 15, 20 years, we are looking to build for the next 75 to 100 years. Because that is what is a time period that is really needed to be able to create a country with spectacular strengths. And we need to start now, we're already very, very late. The second dimension is, of course, as I mentioned, that until and unless the integrity of public systems and public expenditure is raised to competent levels, there is no way we can make it that far. The big visions have been outlined. We have heard the reforms on the way, market-oriented reforms, reducing inequality, make in India, freeing land markets. But the center has given directions. However, it's the local power and the local incentives that are now needed to be put together in sync. And once that happens, then we can get the roll on towards a strong India and a strong country. Well, for the present, at least the debate has started. And I must congratulate the Shama Prasad Research Foundation, Dr. Anirban Ganguly and his colleagues for having anchored this discourse, which will get in a variety of perspectives, a range of views, etc., which can certainly be extended to give perspectives on the issues from the citizens' point of view and from the academics' point of view and from the political point of view. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this